Hello everyone, I'm Rick and thanks for joining me. Today we're looking at the Lin 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 M20 by SMSL. And I'd like to thank Auins Audio for sending me this review unit. They did send this unit out to me free of charge and to keep, so you will see the includes paid promotion banner up above. But as always, all my opinions are my own. The M20 is a USB DAC and headphone amp, and from the data that I've received from the vendor, Lin 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 is a new flagship sub-brand from SMSL, and it's geared towards gaming enthusiasts. Today we'll do the specs first. The Lin 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 M20 uses 4 Cirrus Logic CS43131 DAC chips, which I thought was an interesting choice, as Cirrus Logic has a couple of flagship DACs, and the 43131 is their flagship DAC with headphone amp included, and I wonder why they wouldn't have used the 43198, which is the DAC-only version. The M20 uses a pair of Texas Instruments TPA 6120A2s to handle the headphone amplification, and output up to 700 milliwatts at 16 ohms, which of course is quite a bit more than the 30 milliwatts that the DAC's onboard headphone amp can produce. An XMOS XU316 handles the USB input for PCM playback of up to 32-bit 768 kHz and DSD to up to DSD 256. Line level out up to 2.5 volts, signal to noise at 119 decibels on the 3.5mm single-ended and 124 decibels on the 4.4mm balanced, and THC plus N at 0.001%. Now that that's out of the way, let's take a closer look. The first thing I noticed when removing the M20 from its packaging was its build quality. For the M20's $130 asking price, we're starting off great. Nice and compact, a beautifully milled aluminum chassis with a glass top plate, and 2 selection/volume buttons and a menu/power button. And they do feel great with a very quiet click. On the bottom we have 4 acrylic feet with little rubber pads to keep the unit from sliding across your desk. They really do hold very well. On the underside we also see a printout of all these settings and what the indicators do, which I think is a great touch. Right above the acrylic feet we have some LED lights, more on that later. On the rear of the unit, from the left, we have 2 USB-C ports, the first for data and the second for power. Next, a variable line output on 3.5mm, followed by the headphone outputs, one on 3.5mm single-ended and the other on 4.4mm Pentacon balanced. And I'm still undecided if I would have preferred these on the front side. But I really don't mind them in the rear, as I've been leaving my headphone plugged all the time and I just kind of spin my cord towards the front. That being said, if you have a lot of headphones and you do tend to change them out a lot, I think it would be kind of annoying having to go behind the unit every time. Then maybe some in the front would have been nice. Let's give the M20 a walkthrough. I'll move the M20 to my mouse pad and I'll plug in power. And we'll see a little light show as the unit activates. Holding the red power button down for a few seconds will power the unit off. Holding it down for another second or two will power it back on. The first thing that we'll see are some LEDs that come across 3 sides of the DAC, and these represent the volume. We have 35 steps of volume. The LEDs light white and then green before activating the next white light. So here's the plus and minus. On the front of the unit we have our indicator LEDs, and we have 2 rows of 5 lights. The top row, on the first LED, we have our light to indicate MQA. So if you have MQA files playing, you'll see that square light up green if you have an MQA authentic file, blue for MQA Studio, and magenta for an OFS file. And I'm not really familiar as to what that is. The next LED indicator is for USB audio class, and here you see it lit white, which stands for class 2. Going into our menu, we can change it to blue, which is class 1. The third LED over will activate if we have DSD files playing. The fourth and fifth LEDs dictate the output, either headphone out or line out, but not both at the same time. Here we're on headphone out, and if I select over, a nice feature is that if I go to line out, there is independent memory for the volume on the headphone out or the line out. So headphone out, you'll see we have 1 strip up, while the line out, we see we have it at full power. So that's a really nice plus. And finally, the 5 indicators towards the front of the unit, and these indicate sampling frequency. When the LEDs are lit green, we have 44.1 kHz files and their multiples. When blue, 48 kHz files and their multiples. And when red, DSD. When in the selection menu, those bottom LEDs also represent our filters. So we have 5 filters. And once again, those are listed at the bottom of the unit. And finally, there are those LEDs at the feet of the M20. And in all honesty, I find these aesthetically offensive. I mean, look at them. It looks like a Christmas tree. The first thing that crossed my mind, whoever at SMSL decided on this, fire that guy. I don't want this on my desk. So I reached out to Auins Audio and I asked them, just in case I missed something, is there any way to turn those LED lights off at the feet of this unit? And they emailed me saying that their team was working on something. So I thought, I'm not gonna hold my breath on this one. I have a few other products to get to before this one, and I'll deal with it when I get there later. I was already considering breaking out the feet or painting them matte black, anything to stop that flashing light. And then last week I got an email with the subject firmware fix. Auins sent me an email with the flashing software and instructions. Although not the clearest, they got the job done. If you get this unit and you're flashing yourself as well, make sure the unit is plugged in but powered off when flashing, and only tap the volume plus button after the software identifies the DAC. And just like that, you get an option to turn those LEDs off by pressing both the volume up and volume down buttons at the same time. Bravo SMSL, excellent job. And I love that they heard the complaint and gave us a fix. Great job SMSL. And while on that user experience, everything is fairly straightforward, but I do personally find that 35 steps of volume just isn't enough granularity for me. The headphone volume is fine until we get around this corner up on top, around here. And then at that point, if I go one click over, I'm going too loud, so I wish it was a little more granular. Maybe a gain setting could have helped here for more granularity. Hopefully they'll consider that on the next model. As for sound quality, I love the M20. It's detailed with a great soundstage and layering for its price. To my ear, it has a very smooth and pleasant sound, nothing aggressive at all. It's not as powerful as the SMSL C200 Pro, but sounds smoother and more organic. And also not as powerful as the FIO K11R2R, but definitely more detailed without getting sharp or fatiguing. What more would I have wanted? It's hard to say. For its asking price, I do think that you're getting your money's worth. But I would have liked at least one SPDIF-in. You do get SPDIF-in on both the K11R2R and the C200 Pro. And I also would have liked a setting to also deactivate the LEDs on top, maybe in the form of a small button at the rear. So my final thoughts on this one: if you don't need the extra power or the SPDIF input that you get on the K11R2R or the C200 Pro, I definitely steer you towards the Lin 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 M20. It's my new recommendation for desktop DAC and headphone amp at under $200. And that's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.